Hello, the Historical Gamer here, and as you probably know if you watch me, I'm a humongous platformer fan. But what happens if a humongous platformer fan tries a Legend of Zelda game for the first time? Now, I'm a complete noob at the Legend of Zelda. I have played a bit of Ocarina of Time and A Link to the Past, but I've never actually got very far in a Zelda game. So join me as I recount my first impressions of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This video will be a bit scatterbrained, so keep that in mind going in. Now, immediately I can say that I've loved my time with the game so far. At the moment, I've just completed the first shrine, and I'm still on the Great Sky Island. Really looking at the bullet points of my experience so far, it feels much more open than any game I've ever played, but at the same time, much more restrictive. First, I'm going to explain the more obvious part, why it feels more open. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, even in its tutorial, is an extremely open game. Quite literally, actually. The Great Sky Island is an extremely open area, and at the tutorial, you'd expect it to be quite handholdy. But while it does give you prompters to go in the right direction, you can explore, and you are actually rewarded for doing so. I find this really impressive. By rewarded, I mean the game will give you new challenges to tackle and rewards for those challenges in a more literal sense, such as new weapons and extra items of clothing, though some of those weapons may come from enemies, those enemies being the challenge. There isn't just one linear path forward though, because there are lots of unorthodox ways to traverse that linear path using Link's extremely expansive toolset. It also can feel more open than it actually is due to the fact that the environment is extremely dense because you can interact with practically everything. If there's a tree, you can climb it. There are always branches on the ground. If there's a mushroom that looks like a background element, you can pick it up. You can search through piles of rubble for zonai charges, and lots more. This is lots more than games that I thought you could interact with a lot of things with, such as the Mario RPGs. And also comparing to them, this game has heaps of unique dialogue. It probably has less dialogue than the Mario RPGs, as its dialogue is less wordy, and doesn't take time to educate you on the controls as often letting you figure it out yourself, which contributes to the sense of openness. But you really do get to understand all the characters' personalities, as their dialogue is unique, as they're often commenting on what's going on and their surroundings. Especially Zelda in the prologue, as her dialogue even refreshed after certain events happened. I also quite enjoyed it when I was just throwing pots around and the steward constructs on the Great Sky Island would tell me that my behaviour was dangerous. A small and cute detail, which I feel contributes a lot. I'd like to take a quick break to talk about some more unrelated stuff. The story is extremely complex compared to anything I've played in video games and takes on a magical tone. The environments are extremely unique, which is only amplified by a lighting engine that feels like it's on the same level as Hedgehog Engine 2, or even Unreal Engine 5. and even though the combat is simplistic, I'm loving it. I just unlocked Ultra Hand, and I'm looking forward to see its application in combat, because I think it could have some interesting ones. This all comes back to the openness though, which I personally think is what I'm loving about the combat. Briefly, speaking of Ultra Hand, I've really loved the puzzles I've done with it so far. They remind me of my love of the Sonic Adventure games, the physics-based puzzles in Sonic Adventure, and even the puzzles in the Mario plus Rabbids games. I love the sheer amount of control you have over it. Though, that really leads me on to my next point, the controls, and how they're a bit of a double-edged sword. Now, talking about the controls, as in the actual button layout and amount of moves, not how they feel in-game, the controls are extremely crowded, to an extent I've never really seen in a video game. The only example I can think of that comes even remotely close is Sonic Frontiers, a game which is commonly compared to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. On the other hand, this is what allows for a lot of the variety that I've been speaking of. Now, from my experience of Minecraft, I doubt I'll continue enjoying this throughout the game. But, so far, I've actually been enjoying the inventory management and its applications through combat, and the low durability of the weapons. I love the fact that I can have a game where the combat isn't turn-based, but it gives me time to think by going in the menus, and this is something you're actually meant to do things such as eat food or stock up on weapons. With me discovering cooked food, and the fact that something like a skewered mushroom gives you a speed boost, I assume using food will end up being extremely interesting in combat, as well as Ultra Hand. As for the inventory management itself, with the low capacity I can carry, I hope there will be some way to upgrade my capacity, though still, something about managing such a small inventory is extremely satisfying. Now, talking about the in-game controls, they're a whole different story. While I enjoy them and love the expansive toolset, I also feel the movement system is a bit slow for my liking, as well as the stamina meter a bit small, but I know you can upgrade that. Though I do really think the jump could be a lot bigger. And unlike the stamina meter, which has the same sort of fun as the inventory management, the jump doesn't really have any upsides. Most of the stuff that I originally had in this section, I ended up putting in the previous section, so that's why this section is so empty. But that's all I wanted to cover on this game. That was all for today, guys. This was the Historical Gamer, and remember to like the video if you liked, and if you've liked multiple, subscribe. Also comment. All comments are really appreciated, and I'll make sure to try and listen to the feedback. Goodbye.